Dogs are noted for their extreme friendliness towards humans. They crave human company and gaze intently at their human companions. The partnership between dogs and humans stretches back tens of thousands of years into prehistoric times. It has worked out surprisingly well for dogs, who, with human backing, have become Earth's most abundant land carnivore. Dogs evolved from wolves through a process of domestication by humans. Even when they're hand-raised by humans, modern wolves seldom show the degree of devotion to humans that dogs do. This has led scientists to suspect that the hypersociality of dogs towards humans is more than just a learned trait and has to do with evolved genetic differences between dogs and wolves. In 2022, a team of American geneticists published findings identifying genetic differences between dogs and wolves that may be responsible for the special canine attachment to humans. On chromosome number 6 of the dog genome, the researchers identified several genes associated with dog hypersociality. Interestingly, these genes correspond to parts of the human genome that are also involved in social behavior. Specifically, mutations in the corresponding part of the human genome can lead to a rare condition called Williams-Beuren syndrome. People with this syndrome have hypersocial behavior like that of dogs, along with certain cognitive deficits. Researchers have found evidence that dogs may have cognitive deficits like those of people with this syndrome. The findings might tell us far more than just how social devotion to humans evolved in dogs. Given the genetic similarities, they may tell us much about how social behavior evolved in humans.
When something angers us, humans have rapid cognitions that motivate us to improve our mood. But anger itself can inhibit our ability to reach equilibrium. We see this in how angry people ruminate on how bad they feel, or how they try to vent their anger and end up prompting aggression. So there must be better ways to regulate emotion aside from ruminating and venting that help keep aggression at bay. And it turns out that has a lot to do with how much a person is aware of and able to classify their emotions. This is called emotion differentiation. For example, if people lack the capacity to describe and classify what they're feeling at a given time, they will find it difficult to discern more detail about their emotions beyond the fact that they feel bad. Low emotion differentiators are more distracted and less engaged during times of stress, and also less capable of thinking carefully about their options for how to behave under stress. High emotion differentiators spend less time on counterproductive practices such as ruminating and venting. When people are better at differentiating their negative emotions, they have better emotional control, which means they have more ways of dealing with anger, so they're less likely to turn to aggression in the first place. Feeling angry is a part of life, but being aware of what kind of negativity you're feeling can help you control it and get over it.
Man's best friend has long worked alongside humans to guard, hunt, and herd. New research suggests that over thousands of years, some dogs got bigger due to the nature of their job. As important managers of livestock, early canines doubled in size to protect their flocks from predators. A study of ancient canine bone fragments and teeth in Croatia determined that 8,000 years ago, Neolithic farmers immigrated to the area with their furry friends in tow. This early breed weighed a little over 30 pounds. 2 millennia later, at the start of the Bronze Age, dogs averaged about 40 pounds. By the Roman period, 2,000 years ago, dogs clocked in at more than 50 pounds. In other words, dogs went from the size of a large beagle to the size of a husky. That's a major growth in just 6,000 years. The increased size wasn't happenstance. Villages were becoming bigger, needing more land to grow crops. This meant livestock were pastured farther from villages, often in the mountains. So dogs' job responsibilities expanded as well. They not only had to travel long distances, they had to scare off hungry bears and wolves. Farmers, wanting the best guardians for their herds, selectively bred their dogs to be larger. Human activities, such as burning fossil fuels, are warming Earth's climate. The climate crisis has widespread ramifications. Ecologists are worried that many species will become extinct because they might not be able to adapt to a climate change that's faster than most naturally occurring ones. It's possible that some plants and animals could adapt by shifting their habitats towards Earth's poles or towards higher elevations to avoid the heat. Since ecosystems are varied and complex, ecologists can only find out by studying many specific cases. A team of American ecologists explored this possibility for a species of hummingbirds native to North America's west coast, called Anna's hummingbird. The researchers published their findings in 2022. Anna's hummingbirds live in California's lowlands, but migrate upslope into the cooler mountains during the summer. If climate warming continues, the team hypothesized, the birds might adapt by migrating farther up. To test whether this was really possible, the researchers studied the effects of relocating a group of Anna's hummingbirds to a higher altitude. They captured the birds from across their normal range in the Sierra Nevada and moved them to a research station near a mountain peak, 4,000 feet higher than the birds normally venture. They found that the hummingbirds had big difficulties adapting to the lower air pressure and oxygen levels, which caused a drop in their metabolic rate and flight efficiency. Although the researchers still want to study the effects of longer exposure, their tentative conclusion was that it would be hard for the birds to adapt. Their results remind us how complicated an animal's environmental requirements are. Human-caused global climate change is our most important environmental problem. To help formulate policies to address this crisis, climate scientists are trying to better understand what sorts of human activities cause the production and release of climate-warming greenhouse gases, such as carbon dioxide and methane, into the air. The researchers identified several major categories of emission sources. The first and largest source globally has to do with agriculture and changes in land use, such as clearing of forests for more agricultural land. The highest emissions per person from this source are in the developed countries. Meat production is an especially big problem. It's extremely inefficient, requiring much more land to grow animal feed than is used to grow plant foods. 1/3 of all human-related methane emissions come from the digestive tracts of cows. Energy consumption involved in producing, packaging, and transporting foods is another big source of emissions. Industries also produce greenhouse gases when they make chemicals used in agriculture and materials used to package foods. These sources are more important for developed countries, such as the United States. Finally, food waste is a surprisingly large emission source. Uneaten food goes into landfills, where it produces methane, carbon dioxide, and other greenhouse gases when it decomposes. In the United States, more than 1/3 of all food produced is never eaten, producing emissions all through the food production process, only to rot in a landfill.